Bears Nation podcast, September 27th.
Correct.
Monday, September 27th. And we are here today to attempt to convince the general lawmakers of the nation to throw Matt Nagy in jail, because that is where he belongs for crimes against humanity, crimes against the general city of Chicago, and crimes against Chicago Bears fans specifically. And the game plan, quote unquote, if you want to call it that he rolled out yesterday, and Justin Fields' first start, in which the Bears got absolutely steamrolled by a score of 26-6 against the Cleveland Browns. And oh, buddy, was that game not fun, horrendous, sad, embarrassing,
yes,
and all around a miserable viewing experience that we had to look at. And it's just absolutely, it's stunning. It blows me away how in my 23 years on this earth, and I'm still finding ways to be surprised by the Chicago Bears' general lack of ability to be a football team. And it's just really sad at this point. And I just can't believe, I don't know. I was expecting so much more. I got my hopes up again. Justin Fields' first start, a beatable Browns team, a way that you could start taking the steps to being a playoff team again. Because I don't count last year's team as a playoff team, because that team was not going to go anywhere. We knew that from the beginning. So it's just, I'm mad at myself for even being surprised. But, it was Justin Fields Day. It was time to get excited. The future is here. Let's get this party started. And then you just go out and get embarrassed. You get one net passing yard. You get steamrolled against Cleveland. After your first couple drives, first two drives, the blueprint was laid of what you had to do to win that game. The defense was playing great. The defense was playing inspired. Yeah. The offense stalled out in the first drive, but you still put points on the board, and it looked like you were on your way to a complete game. You saw things, and then just everything backslid into just this absolute pile of crap. And that might be putting it mildly. I mean, it was impossible to watch. I put the Ryder Cup on my big TV at one point, because that was more
honestly, sure.
Like I put the Bears on the little TV because there was no point. There was nothing that you were going to get from watching the end of that game. But once it got to the fourth quarter, you knew what was going to happen. It was nothing. Nothing was happening that was worth watching. And it was just really sad. And it was just an absolutely terrible debut for Justin Fields, because the people, I've seen the stat line thrown out. Obviously, we know, 6 for 20, 60 yards, but that wasn't Justin Fields. Justin Fields did not play poorly. The coaching and the offensive line absolutely let him down, and let the defense down. And people are saying, "Oh, well, the defense, you can't give up that many points to a banged up Cleveland team." The defense ran out of gas.
Defense played great. Yeah,
they ran out of gas, and we've seen that story time and time and time again of the defense being out there far too much. The defense was on the field for 81 snaps, Kevin.
Oh my God,
81 snaps. The defense was out there for. It was abysmal. And obviously they're going to run out of gas there, and they're eventually, and we've seen this defense before. They play great, and then they give up because they know they have no support. That's exactly what happened. Justin Fields, he got hit, sacked 9 times. Myles Garrett sets a franchise record for sacks in a single game with 4.5. It felt like he had about 10. It was just, it was a disaster. It's the only word for it. A complete disaster. And I don't know what the answer is. Justin Fields now hurt his hand. He's probably going to be fine.
We know the answer, Jake. We know the answer.
But you know what's going to happen, right? I mean,
what's going to happen?
We both know what's going to happen this Sunday.
Nick Foles trots out?
And if assuming Andy Dalton gets cleared by team doctors, Andy Dalton's going out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all know that's what's going to happen. And then Matt Nagy's going to, he's going to have a shit-eating grin on his face. He's going, oh, yeah, and this Lions team is not good. But they're actually decent because they've played some good teams pretty tightly. And they're going to beat the Lions with Andy Dalton. Matt Nagy is going to he's going to say he figured it out. And he's going to say they got something. This is why Justin Fields needed to sit, because this is why we've been saying Andy's the guy this entire time. And then they're going to go get their teeth kicked in by the Raiders in Vegas with Derek Carr, and he's just going to absolutely stuff it down your throat. And we're not going to be surprised, because this team is in complete disarray. Matt Nagy has no idea what he's doing. He's way in over his head, clearly. And there's 0% chance he gets fired midseason, because that's never what this organization's been about. It's never what they'll be about, because they're run by a bunch of clowns. All right, that was about 5 minutes of me talking straight. I'm going to look.
You need to let it out. No, you need to let it out.
Kevin Lapka, my co-host, of course. This is Bears Nation podcast, and we are recapping just a horrendous Sunday for the Chicago Bears. Kevin, I'm done.
Therapy moment for Jake there. You just got to let it out, tell him the way you feel, and that's the way you feel, and you're absolutely valid in every single point that you make. I mean, he should be in jail for crimes against the city of Chicago and crimes against Justin Fields. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I'm sorry, we should have taken the Mitch Trubisky quote from this summer for what it was. I mean, that really, like, people were mad at Mitch Trubisky for saying that now that he's in Buffalo, he feels welcome. He feels like he's actually learning things. And everyone thought that, everyone hated on Mitch for that because he's going after the Chicago organization.
Everyone thought it was sour grapes.
Right. No, that was a clear and evident indictment on Matt Nagy. And how in the hell did nobody see that? Nobody saw that. So, we know my stance on the Mitch Trubisky situation for years past, and I don't want to bring that up, but I do deserve an apology because I had said for years it wasn't his fault. And now you look at Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, Chase Daniel, all of them, no success. Common denominator, not all of them suck. Just by pure probability, they don't all suck. No, the common denominator is the coach doesn't know how to get the team ready to play, doesn't know how to game plan for each individual player. You're right. And the reason why this hurts and the reason why this feels hopeless is because as fans of this team, the organization isn't going to have the integrity to make the necessary changes. They're not. And that's why Jake says, they're not going to make an in-season coaching change. So the only thing you can possibly hope for is they change play callers and we see something different. That's the only hope you can possibly have. And yes, Matt Nagy said today, once again, everything's on the table. Maybe he will. I doubt he will. He did do it last year. I doubt he will, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen in the coming weeks because, he's not stupid. He does. Oh, he is stupid. What the hell am I talking about? He is stupid. I'm sure he sees hashtag Fire Nagy trending, and it's not just. Jake has said this before. Fans don't have influence on these things as much as we think we do. But when Jimmy Graham retweets a stat claiming your offense is one of the worst of the century. It's internal. This has become an internal issue. This is no longer Bears against the world, our locker room, our guys against the world. No, you have started a war between the players and the coaches and the players and the organization. And that is when you start to see organizations crumble. In the past, we saw the Bears have their mishaps and miscues. But we always had faith that Matt Nagy, believing that he was a player's coach, was going to keep the team together through all the struggles and through all the hardships, and that culture and whatever that was going to keep them through. Now that you've lost that, you have nothing. Nagy has nothing to hold his head on. Absolutely nothing he can claim that he brings some sort of value to this organization. So once you lose the locker room, once you start to find fundamental issues internally, that is where you start to see organizations crumble.
Right. And it does make me laugh, though, when the Bears tweet, Matt Nagy will be speaking with the media at, 10 a.m. or whatever. And you just the replies, the clown emojis and the clown gifs. And somebody replied today and says, can he speak on this ratio? I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, I mean, people are sick of it. And like you brought up the Jimmy Graham retweet. Jimmy Graham retweets a stat, about how futile the offense was. And and this is Jimmy Graham, who has one catch all year, a guy who you elected to pay to keep on the roster, a salary that you didn't have to pay, which ended up leading, among other things, led you to cutting Charles Leno Jr. and Kyle Fuller. And this guy can't even see the field. He's barely on the field. And it's insane. And it's just the miscue after miscue after misstep. And it's over and over. And it's never ending. And I mean, we'll get to Ryan Pace because I brought up the Jimmy Graham, and we'll get to Ryan Pace and his mishaps and his role in all of this too. But Matt Nagy, I mean, when we said it on this show, when Justin Fields came in after Andy Dalton got hurt, that was a clear, okay, we had a game plan for Andy Dalton. We weren't ready for this much Justin Fields. And we said, all right, we're going to give you the chance to tailor a game plan for Justin Fields against a Browns secondary that you can take advantage of, that you can exploit to your advantage. And what did we see? We saw nothing. We saw the same old crap. For some reason, at least we didn't see screen passes, but it's just the same old crap, and no movement, no bootlegs, no play action, nothing. Justin Fields didn't throw a pass that went more than 20 yards. Your best play of the day was getting a pass interference call for you, and then that was insane. And I know, Justin, you have something to say. Our executive producer, Justin Kaufman, everyone.
I love that title. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Okay, so in 2018, the Bears had a great first season with Matt Nagy. But you look, I think it was 20 or whatever year that was, whatever the next year was, didn't they set a Bears record for running the ball 8 times against the Saints?
Yes.
Remember that? That was a huge deal that Matt Nagy, and then he came out and said, I got to do better.
Yes.
But he broke, that was a record for one of the poorest offensive teams in football history, right? The Bears are not known for their offense. So he set that record. Last year, he set records for not scoring points in the third quarter. Remember that last year? They said, it was amazing that they couldn't score a touchdown. And then for this to happen where they actually get 42 plays for 47 yards, 1.1 play per average. I mean, we cannot be surprised, right? I mean, this is not an offensive-minded coach. He can say he is, but the facts say otherwise.
Well, this is why we're surprised, because this was the one. There was one element that was supposed. Well, no,
I'm not surprised at all.
I'm not completely surprised, but there was one element that was supposed to change everything, and that was the quarterback. And we all thought, and we all had hope that now he's got Justin Fields. Now he's got a real quarterback. And this is why everybody hated Mitch Trubisky. And this is why everybody put the blame on him and put the blame on Foles and put the blame on Dalton and all those other guys, is because the quarterback was not capable enough to run Matt Nagy's offense. That was a major point. So everyone thought, now you have Justin Fields. Now you've got a guy who's got a whole lot of talent, who can bring a whole lot of things to the table. Now we're going to start to unlock the Matt Nagy offense. Now we're going to start to see the quarterback make the plays, because, sometimes they scheme things open and the quarterback can't hit it. But no, more often than not, it's the other way around. And the major problem is he doesn't know how to tailor to the quarterback, no matter who it is, no matter what it is, no matter what skills this man possesses, he doesn't know how to tailor them. So we were given hope that this is Justin Fields going to change everything based off of pure talent. But I'm here to tell you, I don't give a shit if it's Patrick Mahomes, if it's Tom Brady, if it's maybe Tom Brady's the only one, if it's Josh Allen, if it's Kyler Murray. Not one of these players would be successful under Matt Nagy's offense, or at least be completely remotely close to what they currently are on their respective teams. I can 1,000% guarantee that fact. 1,000%. Lock it in.
There is no quarterback in the NFL that would have been able to handle, that would have given you any other result yesterday.
No.
Because Justin Fields was running for his life, and Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney were strolling past the Bears offensive lineman, like barely being touched multiple times. The image of Jason Peters falling down, trying to hold on to Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett just rushes past him, will be burned into my brain forever as a symbol of embarrassment. And you have to laugh, because he was falling over, literally arms comically waving like he was a drowning man, as Myles Garrett runs straight at Justin Fields. No, it was all the daylight in the world to just absolutely murder Justin Fields. I don't know what Justin Fields did to Jason Peters that made him so upset that he wants to get him killed. But I mean, that's just unbelievable. And that was one of the and to respond to the comment, that where goes one comment on YouTube, there's no shot. And Matt Nagy's not getting fired in season. This organization does not run this way. As much as I would love to believe that they would have a spine at some point, it's not going to happen. It'll never happen. Not in a million years. In any other earth, it's not happening. But it's just embarrassing. And it's not happening. But one last point, and I know this is like my second rant, and we've been on for 15 minutes.
Go off, dude.
But Myles Garrett literally said after the game, "Oh yeah, after the first 2 drives, we knew what we adjusted, and then they couldn't do anything." That 2 things on that. The first 2 drives, I said in the beginning of the show, were when you actually had a semblance of an offense and it looked like you had something going. And then after that, it stalled. Myles Garrett literally said that, those first 2 drives, we figured out what they wanted to do, is what he said. We figured it out, and we adjusted, and then they couldn't do anything. It's insane. But we've seen that. And Matt Nagy, on top of his many other faults, no ability to adjust in game. It's never been a thing with him. And we've said it on the show. Matt Nagy goes in with one plan, and if it doesn't work and the opposing team figures it out, everything goes to shit. And it happened and that was the biggest example of it yesterday, because the Browns defense figured out what the Bears offense, quote unquote offense, if you want to call it that, was going to try to do and what they were going to attempt to do. And they adjusted and shut them down. And the Bears had no answer for it. Nothing.
Well, you want to know what he also said? He said, you know what? We really expected Chicago to move a little bit more with Justin and move the pocket. You know, like and I'm starting to wonder what the hell goes on in practice. What the hell are they watching? What the hell are they doing? I don't understand how you have 2 QB designed runs. You don't run any play action. He's in shotgun every other play. There's no creativity. There's nothing tailoring to the strengths of the quarterback. And it's just baffling that you could be this bad. It's actually unexplainable. It's literally unexplainable. Like, I watched the Houston Texans put up 21 points against the Cleveland Browns and move on them with ease. Like, the Browns have a good defense. They're okay. They're a solid defense. Davis Mills. And the Houston Texans carved them up for a good period of time with Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills. And you can't get more than 1 yard of passing offense? Like, this is historically bad. And it's not, I'm sick of him going on the mic and saying, credit to Cleveland, credit to what the other team has done. No credit to them. Sure, you know, credit is, you can give credit where it's credit's due, but only when that is deserving and when their defensive talent outmastered your offense. That wasn't the case. It was your stupidity and your offensive ineptitude that did the Cleveland defense and whatever they were doing. So I don't understand. Like, what do they think he is? What do they like? Do they watch? Do they even scout the fucking guy in college? Do they even know what he's capable of? And Jake, this goes down the food chain as well, down the ladder. This is not just the quarterback. When you talk about, we've talked about this for years on this podcast now. What player has developed under Matt Nagy? What player has gotten better? We've seen players get worse. We've seen players kind of go up and down. But I can't think of one, or maybe a few, but a few players that have consistently gotten better under Matt Nagy. They don't know what their players are capable of. They don't know how to game plan to their players, and they don't know how to make them better. It goes down the ladder. That's why Marquise Goodwin has like 0 catches. That's why Demir Bird has 0 catches. That's why Allen Robinson has like 4 catches all year. Darnell Mooney's non-existent last game. You know, all freaking mess. I don't know. I mean, they must watch SpongeBob. Like, I don't know what they watch. What do they do at practice? No, actually, what do they do, Jake? What do they do at practice?
And to your point about, you got to give them credit. You absolutely do not have to give more credit to Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. You know what they are. They are top tier pass rushers. They're top tier defenders. Myles Garrett is perennially in the defensive player of the year conversation. He hasn't won one yet, but he's always in that conversation. Jadeveon Clowney isn't exactly what he used to be, but he's still a very, very good pass rusher. What these guys are. And Matt Nagy goes up there and he says, oh, it starts with me. It's as simple as that. Well, clearly it's not very simple because you've had 4 years to figure it out, and we're still here, and we're still doing the same old shit. And so it doesn't make sense.
Oh my God.
And you're right. I don't know what they do in practice, because we hear, oh, Justin's wowing us in practice and everything looks so good in practice. So are they just doing non-contact in practice? Are they running dry drills? Like, you're right. It makes no sense. And to your point, I think the only players that we've seen get better under Matt Nagy's regime is Roquan Smith and David Montgomery.
Defensive. Yeah.
I think those are the only two. I think none of the corners. I mean,
no.
Jalen Johnson. But I mean, he had natural. He had a very good year last year, and so far through 3 games, he's played really well.
Yeah.
But give it time, because I mean, we've seen other guys have a good year, a first year or two, and then go down. It happens over and over again. Eddie Jackson's a prime example of that. Your interior offensive linemen are a prime example of that. Anthony Miller is the best example of that, I think. And so it's astounding. It really is. And now we're going to have to deal with it for another year. And it's going to be really bad. I think things are going to be very, very ugly for the next few weeks, because again, remember, you still have to play the Seahawks, the Ravens, the Steelers look washed, but you have to go to Pittsburgh to play them. Like you still, and we haven't even played the Packers yet. You have to play them twice. The Vikings actually look decent. We thought they'd be a trash hot fire, but you still have some very hard games. You got to play the 49ers still. You have hard games coming up, and it's going to – they're going to beat the Lions. And Matt Nagy's going to preach to us, and see, we're getting better. Our arrow's pointing up. And then it's immediately, and I mean immediately, going to go right back down, because after the Lions game, and let's not pull any punches, the Lions are bad. But right after the Lions, they're going to get that win. Matt Nagy's going to, he's going to grin at the media like he knows something, and like we're the idiots. But then you have the Raiders in Vegas. You welcome.
I'm not worried about that game. Packers
you go
ain't
to
good.
Tampa Bay. You bring the 49ers to town, and then you go to Pittsburgh. So
Jesus.
I mean, you maybe beat Pittsburgh.
And Vegas. I think they can beat Vegas, but look,
theoretically they should. Kevin, I'm going to be honest, and
they're not beating anybody unless they change play callers.
I don't think they can beat Detroit right now. I'm not confident in saying that they're going to beat the Lions.
Yeah.
Because you know what the difference is? Yes, you have more talent than the Lions, but the Lions play like a team that actually is hungry and wants something. Your team, your defense is going to check out. Your defense is about to check out.
Dude, they already
can't do anything. And so the Lions play inspired football. Like they play football that the Bears say they play, and they don't. But the Lions actually do it. And everybody likes to make fun of Dan Campbell, and he's a walking meme. I make fun of him too. But his players get up to play for him. Matt Nagy can't say the same right now. So I don't even know if they beat Detroit right now.
At this given moment, maybe not. Here's the funny thing about this team, though. Like, they are capable of beating anybody if they change play callers. Like, it's that simple. It is that simple. They were in that game yesterday. They could have very well won that game yesterday. They should, had they not had one passing yard. Like, the defense played well enough for you to win. It was 13-6 in the fourth quarter, wasn't it? I mean, it was halftime was what? 10-3, 7. It was 10-3. It was 10-3 at halftime. You're down one score in Cleveland. You could have won the game, and then it all falls apart like it does in the fourth quarter. Like, they could beat any team. And the funny thing, well, again, disclaimer, with the different play caller, not with Matt Nagy, all that. The funny thing is, he goes on the mic after every single game when they lose. And what does he say? This loss is on me, starts with me, and ends with me. All right. So what the hell does that mean? What do you think? Like, what are you saying? Okay, right. Every single loss is your fault. You're telling everybody every single loss is your fault. You're literally explaining it. He always says, we're gonna go find the whys. We're gonna go look for it throughout practice. We're gonna find the why. You just told us the why. It starts with you and it ends with you. It's your fault. Is he trying to get fired? Like, I think he's at this point, like, literally trying to get fired. He goes, it starts with me and ends with me. He's gifting everybody the why. He's giving everybody the reason. It's his fault they're not ready to play. It's his fault the offense looks bad. And it's his fault that he's stupid enough not to know what they can do to help the team win. Like, we have evidence. This isn't a speculation. We have evidence of what this offense was under Bill Lazor and Mitch Trubisky. We saw it. We literally saw it last year with 4 games or however many was with Lazor, and they broke the record or whatever for 30-point games or not broke the record, but first time they scored, 30 points in 4 consecutive games in however many years. Right, offense looked better. He has to make one move, and that's why I don't understand him. Like, I don't understand your play call. I don't understand you either, just like what your mentality is. You're not going to save your job at this point. It's not possible, but you can make yourself look a hell of a lot better. If you handed over play calling, your team started winning, you started to focus on other things, and you weren't, consuming all of the blame. I mean, no one had their gripes about Matt Nagy during that 4-game win streak in 2020 last year, did they? No, it was okay. This is what we need to do. We need to change the play calling. Nagy can focus on actually being a competent head coach, and we can go from here. And then he made the boneheaded move to go back to him. And it's selfishness. I don't know what it is, but it's like every answer to every single problem could not be more in front of him, and it's been this way for years, and he doesn't know how to make the right decision. He just guesses C. He's like that kid that guesses C on every multiple choice question on the ACT just to try to pass, because he doesn't freaking know. He's ignorant, says Ace Daniels on YouTube. Total passing yards 36 inches, says Where Goes One. I love seeing that 36 inches. That's funny to think about it that way, but. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, Ace Daniel used to be a naggy truther. So much for that. There were a lot of people. There
I mean,
were a
we
lot
all
of
were.
people.
We all were. I mean,
No,
we all
I was
thought that.
never. Okay, fine. I was.
We all
After
thought, like,
2018, yes.
well, we were all saying, even last year, we say, all right, well, you change this and you change that and you tweak this and you tweak that and you can make this work, and over again, and it doesn't work. And I mean, it's just bad. And you're right. I think that he's gonna clutch to the play calling for as long as he can to try and save his job until, I assume.
But no, Jake, that's where you're wrong. I think though, that's where you're wrong. Like if he has any sort of IQ that's above 0, he should know that the only thing that can save his job at this given point, yeah, well is right, I'm not sure, at this given point, is to hand over play calling. And I think he might have, and that's why, Jake, like when you look at last year, this is the similar situation. He might have seen the writing on the wall last year and was like, okay, we just lost 6 games in a row. I might be freaking getting fired. I'm going to salvage this by handing over the play calling. We're going to win some games because we play some lesser opponents and we're going to get ahead of it. And then we're going to go back to me and then we're going to see how that goes. He might. It's his last plea. That's all I'm saying. That's why I think it could be possible. Is the same situation.
Is this the worst loss of the Nagy era?
Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close.
I think the next closest would be that Green Bay Sunday night game from last year, when you got it just absolutely blown out. I think that, and we were on this podcast, I think we did a 2-hour episode, just absolutely ripping into everyone in the organization. I think that's the only closest one. But I agree with you. I mean, it's bad. I mean, yesterday was supposed to be a game where everyone was excited for the next era of Bears football, for the next quarterback who you're going to have for the next 10 years to be here. And then you just absolutely piss it away. You get the kid killed. I've seen this example made everywhere. It's reminiscent of Jay Cutler, one of Jay Cutler's first games when the Giants had, I think, 10 sacks in the game, and they had like 8 in the first half or something, and just absolutely crushed Jay Cutler all night long. And I mean, it's fair to wonder. There was a comment: does this affect Justin Fields' development? Probably. When you at least for the season, because when guys like Nick Bosa come to town in a couple weeks, or when guys like the Ravens defense comes to town, your offensive line is gonna help you at all. I mean, and even guys that aren't elite, like a Bosa, or like, how can you have any faith in them? So Justin Fields is going to be seeing ghosts, because he knows, especially his blind side, until Jason Peters is no longer there, he's going to be afraid of his blind side the entire time.
Well, you kind of saw that at the end of the Cleveland game, too. People were getting upset because he was kind of locking in on receivers and making quick reads and throwing it quickly. What the hell do you want the guy to do? You want the guy to sit in there and wait? Like, he was trying. He did hold the ball a little bit too long in situations, and he deserves, to go back and look at the tape and dissect that. He is a rookie. He did hold it a little bit too long at times early on, and some of those led to sacks. But in general, I mean, he was trying to go through his read progressions, and number one, the offensive line didn't hold up, but number two, nobody was open, and that partially has to do with scheme, partially has to do with your playmakers, but I think it has to do more with scheme than it does that, because we know the capabilities of these guys on offense. I mean, nobody was open, so it doesn't affect. The reason why I'm not worried about long-term, repercussions of this is that he's such a smart player that I think the moment you bring in a different play caller with a different mindset, whether it be Brian Dable, Eric Bieniemy, he's going to soak it up extremely quickly, and he's going to be able to kind of let go of whatever the hell Matt Nagy was telling him and all those different things. He's just that cerebral and smart of a guy that I'm like, the one thing that you would be worried about maybe in like the Mitch Trubisky situation or whatever is like, okay, he switched play callers first year. You never want to see a quarterback switch play callers right after they're a rookie, but he's just a smart enough guy. He's a talented enough guy to where I think that doesn't matter. So I don't think this affects anything long-term for Justin Fields, anything in that sort of capacity. And even his health, maybe, like, you don't want him getting banged up, but even then I'm still not too worried about it. So,
I mean, honestly, I'm at this point right now where all you can do for this year is just try to get some solid building blocks, a solid foundation. And then next year, because I said this last week, I think Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are package deal. So if one goes, the other's going too. And either they both get fired or neither of them get fired. And in my opinion, I could be wrong, but in my head, I think they're a package deal.
At this point, I think
and either they both go or neither of them go. So, I mean, Nagy's walking himself out the door at this point. And so the best thing you can do, in my eyes, unless you somehow Nagy gives up the play calling tomorrow and the offensive line starts playing better miraculously somehow, and you end up sneaking in the playoffs or something. But otherwise, in a realistic sense, you just build some solid foundation for Justin Fields for the next head coach, whether, whoever it is that you get from Tampa or from LA or from wherever. Because unfortunately you can't hire Eric Bieniemy because it's just going to be you can't go back to the Andy Reid tree, unfortunately. Anyone, I mean, he should be a head coach somewhere. It's long overdue. Let me make that very clear. But the Chicago Bears won't hire him because you can't. The optics on that would be terrible. But and generally the NFL should be above optics, but this is the Chicago Bears we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, you just got to try and build some solid foundation and do what you can and salvage what you can. Jalen Johnson, Darnell Mooney, get a solid foundation. And hopefully in 2 years you could be a playoff team again. But other than that, I don't know where you go from here because, I mean, Ryan Pace, so I guess this is a good segue to Ryan Pace and his fault in all of this as well, is that Ryan Pace threw you all in. Like the defense was going to be your foundation. Okay, now you got Justin Fields, and that's why you've got these Nick Foles, these Andy Dalton, because you just need someone to just make you competent and to just run a competent offense. Now, of course, when Matt Nagy's at the center of it and designing the offense, you're never going to succeed that way. But Ryan Pace threw it all in. And with Jimmy Graham, with Nick Foles, and then that led to, cutting Charles Leno and Bobby Massey and Kyle Fuller because you chose the wrong guys. And Ryan Pace, I mean, I don't know. And granted, Matt Nagy, that first year was great. We thought everything was going to be awesome. But the hoodwink job that Matt Nagy has done, I mean, you have to give credit to that, the way that he just tricked whoever he needed to trick to get this job, including all of us, I guess, to a certain extent. But, I mean, Ryan Pace has a hand in all of this, too, and that's why I think that they're a package deal as far as going or staying, too. But, I mean, this is just – it's a terrible situation right now.
I really people are on Ryan Pace's ass, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not. Okay. And I've alluded to this in the past. If you want to place the blame if you want to do a percentage of where you're going to place the blame, it should be 95% Matt Nagy, 5% Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace deserves blame for the offensive line and the mishaps that are there, 1,000%. But that's the only area where I think he deserves blame because he has put a competent team on the field for you to win the past 4 years and this year with every single thing that Matt Nagy has wanted. We talked about this weeks ago, before the season started, and this is why we said there's no more excuses for Matt Nagy. He has absolutely nothing that he can rely on as an excuse. You gave him the speed receivers that was supposed to replicate what he had in Kansas City. You gave him the athletic tight end that's supposed to replicate Travis Kelce like he had in Kansas City. You gave him, a solid wide receiver one who I know the contract disputes have messed up, but there was more to that than just the money. It's a fuzzy situation. You have an Allen Robinson. You have a running back who's extremely dynamic. You get Damian Williams, who he had in Kansas City. You give him everything he could possibly need. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball. We know what they have. You know the money you allocate there. The Kyle Fuller situation was bad, but in retrospect, it looks worse because of the way Matt Nagy is using Jimmy Graham. He put a team on the field that is ready to win, that has all the pieces to win. And we've just talked about it 10 minutes ago. Matt Nagy has not done anything with those players or developed them to get them to the point where they're at. We've seen teams do more with less. We've seen teams do more with less talent than the Bears have. And is that, credit to the GM? Do you think the GM of the Patriots deserves all the credit for, picking up the random white guy in the sixth round of the NFL draft?
Kevin, that's a terrible example because the coach is the GM in New England.
Yeah, yes, that is that's true. But you know what I'm trying to say. There are teams who do more with less, and the head coach makes their GM look better because the way they develop their players, the way they turn those diamonds in the rough into superstars who they found in the 7th round, and all those things like that. Yeah, the Rams. I mean, it happens with every single team. I don't want to see a single person putting a brunt of the blame on Ryan Pace, because quite frankly, he does not deserve it. He put a team out there that Matt Nagy wanted, that Matt Nagy was supposed to work with. He listened to him, and I guess he's dumb for listening to him, but he listened to him all the way back when we talked about Nick Foles, all the way back when we talked about Mitch Trubisky. Matt Nagy's whole plea to becoming the reason he got hired was for one reason and one reason only at the time. It was to develop Mitch Trubisky, turn him into the franchise quarterback of the Chicago Bears, and go from there, and have that figured out first, and then go from there. He failed to do that. So first of all, if that was the reason why you hired him, he failed to do that should be grounds for firing. But nonetheless, this is not on Ryan Pace as much as it is on Matt Nagy. He deserves blame in certain areas nonetheless, but I hate the people who are pinning this on Ryan Pace and making him the problem. He is 1,000% not the problem.
No, he's not the problem. I agree, but he did have. My point was that he did have a hand in this. The some of the personnel decision. I mean, just the Kyle Fuller one sticks out immensely. Obviously, the offensive line, Charles Leno does as well now too. But no, I mean, you're right. It all goes back to Nagy. I saw someone say he should take his own advice and get a job at McDonald's. That was pretty funny.
God.
So at least we're getting jokes like that out of all of this misery. But yeah, I mean, yesterday was just absolutely back to the actual game aspect. I will say, Justin Fields, to his credit, there were a couple times where he didn't go down on first contact and he tried to spin away or just use natural. Whatever his natural talent is out of this world, because there were a couple times I thought he was on the ground and he tried to get away. And unfortunately, there were about 3-4 other Cleveland Browns there already. Right. But and even the underhand flip to Cole Kmet, I was like, that's pretty that's everything you want, because you could live with the rookie mistakes, staring down a receiver at some point, or holding the ball too long. Like, you can live with that because you would get moments like that underhand. Kmet, which ended up going for 7-8 yards, and you thought it'd go for like 2. You thought you were going to get a sack, and then he just flips it forward like a baseball, and you get some out of it. Like it happens, right? It balances out. At the end of the day, the good will outweigh the bad, because that's just the kind of player Justin Fields is. But here we are talking about how he got sacked over and over again and how he got one net passing yard because Matt Nagy failed him. The coaches failed him. And I think it said a lot when Justin Fields, because there were times where Justin Fields was talking to Matt Nagy. He looked visibly upset. But then by the end, he was only talking to Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. And I think that says a hell of a lot. And if you're already jading your rookie quarterback who you think is the future of the franchise before his first start is even over, you got a problem. And you got to address it quickly, because otherwise it's going to balloon. And then you're going to have a Jay Cutler, Mike Martz situation where he's telling him to go F himself on the sideline.
Yeah, that Justin's too high character of a guy to do that, but I'm sure.
No, I agree. But that's
Nick Foles would do that. Nick Foles would do that, and he almost did when he says, you can hear, or you're not can hear, you can see him lip reading. There's a video of him saying Matt's offense, or the offense just isn't working. The offense just isn't working. And when you have, again, that's why I say when it becomes eternal, you're a third-string quarterback, a guy who's respected among the league, the guy who's been to, a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl MVP, been to a whole bunch of different organizations, seen a whole bunch of different offenses. When he's saying that,
a lot of football.
He's seen a lot of football. You got problems when it becomes internal. It's serious. But like to break down like the X's and O's of it, and like really break down how Justin Fields did. Like, we already kind of talked about, how Matt Nagy failed him. There's a few plays that kind of stick out to me where I would have liked to see him do better. Where I think it was there was one play where he rolled out. I don't think it was a design rollout, but he got out on the run. Darnell Mooney was open. I think it was a corner play, it's deep corner play, and this ended up being the PI, the interception PI. Just a quicker decision would have resulted in a touchdown there, because Mooney was wide open, but he held it a little bit too long. Johnson was able to fall back and get the interception. Again, the PI nullified that. That I would like to see that, but the problem was, like, why were we empty every time? Why are we in shotgun every time? Why are we not doing things why no QB design runs? Jake, when we came into this game, we said, all right, if they want to win this game, they want to come out here with a win. They want to, do things, because we like, I'll admit it. I got a little ahead of myself. I thought he was going to light the world on fire a little bit. I thought he was going to show a lot of things, and
that was natural optimism.
Yeah,
I think we were all there.
Yeah, and I think that's justifiable to a point because of how talented he is. You know what I mean? But
I agree.
But like two design QB runs all game, and hey, we're going empty, we're going shotgun, we're going no pulling guards, no bootlegs, none of those things.
Oh no, there was one time where you had an offensive lineman pull, and it was Jason Peters on a running back toss.
Was that on the toss play?
Yes,
Yeah.
when literally it seemed like the whole Cleveland defense was on the left
Yeah.
side,
Left
and
side.
you call a run to the left side, and part of that, I think, you can't expect your rookie quarterback to check out of that play. Like there should have been use one of your timeouts, help him out a little bit,
Yeah.
do something. But your swing guy is Jason Peters, and that was it was laughably bad. But anyway, continue.
No, I mean, you're right, but it was laughably bad. I don't know why you're calling a toss on that play anyway. I mean, when you get, like we said, when you get down to 3rd and 2, it should be QB counter 37% of the time. Like at one of your 3 plays at 3rd down and short distance should be QB draw, QB counter, or some sort of QB design run. I mean, watch
we
the
haven't even
fucking
talked
Cardinals,
about
watch the Ravens.
We haven't even mentioned the 4th and 3 at the Browns 4-yard line either.
What was that again? Oh, the
after the PI when they took the field goal from the Browns 4-yard lines. You had 4th and 3, and you send the field goal unit, and Justin Fields is standing on the field until the literal last moment possible, being like, "What the hell are we doing here?" And I mean, I think that's when I kind of knew that this game was not going to go the way we wanted it to, because you got 4th and 3, 4th and like 2.5 really, and it's still early, and you have a chance to make it a very much different game. And you don't show confidence in your quarterback. A, B, right. he shows the commitment that he wants to do it, and you kick a field goal from the 4. I mean, it was like I wanted to vomit. Like that was terrible, and that was really bad.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I have no trust the offense was going to pick up that 4th down conversion. I was almost grateful they kicked the field.
Either, but
I had zero trust.
The fact that they were in that position.
Here's what I would like to see, or what I would like to have seen, and what I think Bill Lazor would do as the play caller, and what I think Bill Lazor did do as the play caller with Mitch Trubisky. He says, you know what? I'm going to kind of ask the quarterback what he wants to do. I'm going to say, look, what do you think is going to be successful for us? How do you think we're going to, we can tailor to your strengths? What do we help? And Mitch Trubisky outspokenly said this when Bill Lazor became the play caller last year. I remember he came on the mic. It was like, there's more communication. There's more of, what I want to do with the offense. And a play that sticks out to me in a similar situation like this is the Ravens against Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. They face a 4th and 3 and in their own territory, one of the boldest 4th and 3s you ever see, with the Chiefs could have had a chance to kick the field goal if they don't get it. John Harbaugh goes up to Lamar, says, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Let's go for it." Lamar says, "Let's go for it. Let's run a design QB run."
I think a little bit of that was showmanship. I think they knew what they were going to do, and I think John Harbaugh knew where he was and that the cameras. But
he's mic'd up. He's mic'd up. He knows.
Right. But to your point, like they had the confidence to do it even.
Yeah. So, in that situation, I would love to have seen Nagy say, "Hey, Justin, what do you want to do?" And Justin says, "You know what? Let's go QB counter to the right side. I'm going to trust my athleticism. I'm going to trust my playmaking ability to get that first down, because he's capable of doing that." We saw it in the Rams game. I mean, that play was not a great play design, but he scored a touchdown on it. And that's why I'm saying, it doesn't even matter if the blocking is not there 100% of the time. The guy's going to get you the first down if you need it to, because he's that athletic. So schematically, nobody's open. And when you look at Justin Fields' game 2 and you see the numbers 6 for 20, obviously people are going to say, well, the offensive line doesn't tell the story for his completion percentage. And yeah, that's true to a certain extent. But you look at those throws down the stretch, those were fine throws. He's putting them on the chest of the receiver. What was happening? The defense was right there to swat it away. That's why I say when there's zero separation as well. The receivers do need to do a better job at separation. I'm going to look up their separation rates on Next Gen Stats before next episode. But his throws weren't he didn't throw an interception. He wasn't throwing bad balls all day. He hit on the football. It was more of just the things you would have expected to see, the jitters at times from a rookie quarterback who just kind of got swallowed by the moment. I think that's why it's more encouraging and not as daunting as if he did a Zach Wilson and threw 4 interceptions, or he even did a Trevor Lawrence who has more interceptions than he does touchdowns and on pace to throw the most interceptions in NFL history. You know what I mean? It's those littler things that are okay, it's just the mental aspect. He just got to get up to speed. All those smaller things more than it is, his arm angle's wrong, the accuracy's wrong. There's a fundamental issue with the way he is, throwing the football.
Right. No, and again, we opened the show with this. Justin Fields, the stat line looks terrible, but it's because he had no breathing room whatsoever, and the scheme and the lack of adjustments just completely failed him. And I mean, He's probably was having nightmares all night, waking up with the vision of Myles Garrett barreling towards him, waking up in a cold sweat. Like it's, yeah. And again, I mean, and we'll expand on this on Wednesday for the preview episode, but my God, I mean, the fact that we're going to get Andy Dalton again, and
so that look, I'll make a prediction. We're going to get a press conference on Wednesday. Bill Lazor will become the play caller, and Justin's going to be the starter. And it's going to be because Bill Lazor wants that to be the case. And I don't know if I'm too optimistic to think that, but I again, because of last year's situation, I think this is Matt Nagy's last holy grail Hail Mary to potentially save his job. Because at this point, like there's nothing else he could possibly do than wins, because that's what he held his hat on for the past 3 years anyway. Is, our offense wasn't that good. We ranked. I'm the offensive guru, but we're ranking last in the league in a number of categories. But I'm 45-12 or 20, whatever the hell his record is, and I was coach of the year, and we made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. So if he continues and knows that is something that he can hold his hat on, then he's going to do whatever it takes to allow that. So I think Bill Lazor becomes the play caller, and because of that, Bill Lazor has the control. Bill Lazor says, "I want Justin Fields. I want him to run this offense," and that's what we're going to see.
Do you think Bill Lazor has that much power, though? Is the problem? That's my
maybe he does. Maybe he does. I mean,
my thing is, if Nagy says, even in the event that he gives up the play calling, I think he might still have the final say on personnel. So I might be thinking that Matt Nagy might go with the safer option. Like, yeah, Justin Fields might give me the higher ceiling, but Andy Dalton, like, is a seasoned pro. Like, I know what I can do with him.
Oh, you're saying Lazor's saying that?
No, Nagy.
Okay. Well, so here's the question I have. Last year, I don't know if you remember last year when they changed play callers, was that the same week that they moved back to Mitch Trubisky? Did those two things happen hand in hand?
Oh,
because because if they did, I don't know. Maybe
because Lazor's first game was the Vikings game, right?
I think so. But Mitch's first game back was
I want to say it was the Sunday night Vikings game.
We didn't play them on Sunday night last year. The Packers game was the first game Mitch was back, right? The one they got blown out 41-25.
Maybe. I think you might be right. I think maybe it was the Packers then.
So if those two things happen hand in hand, I'm just saying, like, maybe he does have that power. Maybe he was, making that decision back to Mr. Trubisky once he became the play caller. Again, I don't know. I wouldn't believe that Matt Nagy would say, look, I'm going to give you free range to make this decision, because most of the times that's a head coaching decision. But
okay. So here's what it was. So I think wasn't Lazor's first game the game that Foles left hurt and Bray had to come in? I'm pretty sure that was Lazor's first game. And then Mitch was healthy the next week against the Packers when you got absolutely just your asses whooped.
Maybe. I'm
almost positive.
Okay. You could be right.
Close enough they coincide. Like there's a close enough correlation.
There is a close enough correlation. So anyway, that's my prediction. It might be optimistic, but I think based off the history, based off the evidence, there's some validity to it.
See, I could see it, but I think you're underestimating Matt Nagy's ego and his awareness of this fact that you're playing the Lions, and he knows he could go out and get a win against the Vikings, keep the play calling, and then come out on Monday morning and be all smug and happy with himself. And be like, I did it. I put together a game plan that got us a win. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Like you're underestimating his ego and just his just who he is and his just spite. Like you're underestimating the amount of spite that Matt Nagy has for the fans and for all of us, just to self-serve himself.
And I just think there's going to be people who say, well, what happens when, they trot Justin Fields out next week against Detroit, the Bears put up 35 points and win, and it's all of a sudden, oh shit, Matt, look at what we're doing without you. Well, we've already seen that. Like, we already know how bad he is. You can't go any lower. So at that point, he can at least say, I coached the game well. I got us ready for the game. I got us a win. the offense looks better. And then he can maybe even say, if he really wanted to be this selfless, and I think he might have said it last year, he can even say, I made the right decision. I did what needed to be done. I switched play callers. I recognized that things weren't going right. Like, again, Jake, when I tell you he could save himself if he really wanted to. The opportunity is there. I decided what I would like. I would love. This is what I would love for him to say, and this is what every Bears fan would possibly want. This is a dream scenario. Bears win. Bill Lazor becomes the play caller. Everything looks great. He says, you know what? Comes down the right piece. Brutally honest. Says, look, my offense just simply wasn't working. I had to hand over to Bill Lazor. I know that what's important is getting this locker room ready to play, getting this team ready to play, minimizing penalties, looking at the other aspects of the game, making the right decisions in game, making adjustments. And I wasn't able to do those things when I was worrying about the offense. So I decided to hand it over to Bill Lazor. I decided to kind of assume the other roles at a higher level. And I think that's part of the reason why we were able to get a win and why we looked better. If he said that, the whole city of Chicago takes a step back. You're not seeing hashtag Fire Nagy. You're not seeing clown emojis. Everything all of a sudden makes logical sense. And he won't do that, but it's all right in front of it. That's why I say, the opportunity is there.
You're right. I mean, that's how he saves his job. That's how he saves the season. That's how he saves the locker room. I mean, those three things, it's all tied in just doing exactly what you just outlined. And yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, will he have the spine to do it? I lean towards no, just because it's just what sticks to me is how he took the play calling back at the most critical time of the season last year. And so that's what sticks with me. And so that's why I think like Matt Nagy's just going to say himself, like, I can do this. I can save this. Screw them. I can make this work. And then he's going to go out there and he's going to lose his job. And then, for better or for worse, he's going to keep it, and it's going to be for worse for now. But then at the end of the season, when he gets himself fired, we'll be looking at whatever assistant from Tampa or LA or, wherever that you bring in, and you can, be excited about, another year of averageness, because the thing is, that's the problem. That's the problem with all of this. If you bring in another GM, like, I don't think another GM keeps Khalil Mack or Robert Quinn or
probably not. Probably not.
A new GM probably goes, all right, I have Justin Fields. If I could turn this around in 3 years or 2 years, maybe, then we have a shot here while Justin Fields is still on his rookie deal. So I mean, it's just it's like the pain of wanting to win, but knowing you'll have to stick with Nagy. And like, if you win, Nagy sticks around, but if you lose, then you lose a lot of this defense, and you kind of hit a reset button, and you can down the road for 3 years or so.
It's a lose-lose situation. It's funny though, like, now that we collectively, everybody has come to this realization about the ineptitude of Matt Nagy and how bad it is. And now you can kind of speculate about the past, and not just Mitch Trubisky. Yes, I think Mitch Trubisky could have been a better, more capable quarterback without Matt Nagy. But then you start to look, do they win that Saints game if Bill Lazor was the play caller? Do they? Do they win the Super Bowl in 2018 if it was a different play caller? Like, I know 2018 was supposed to be the one good year, but really, they weren't that great offensively. They were fine. They weren't that great.
Historic defense more than anything.
They weren't. Yeah. They weren't amazing. I think they ended up probably 11th in the league or something total yards in that area, and scoring offense was solid. But it's funny how you can kind of go back and you can pinpoint little things. You can kind of speculate and be like, what if there was somebody else at the helm, if there was a different play caller, and it's frustrating to do those things. It hurts to go back and look at those things, but it's kind of funny to think about it. Do they win this game? Right. How are things different? And, there's a lot of people who are going to say, well, I wouldn't have changed it anyway, because this allowed them to get Justin Fields and all these certain things. True. But you do have to wonder what could have been had it been different.
Some of these Bears scores from 2018 are just so gross. Like, obviously the 16-15 against the Eagles, but 14-9 over the 49ers, 15-6 over the Rams, 25-20 over the Vikings. Some of these are just gross.
Yeah. And then I think the two games where they really dominated was against the Bills, 43-6 or something. I think they had 41-9, two defensive scores in that game. The Buccaneers game, obviously.
That was the Buccaneers game, yeah.
That we're gonna put that all on, the GOAT Mitch Trubisky, the MVP, throwing 6 tuds. No credit to Matt Nagy on that one. But yeah, I mean, other than those two games, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just funny to look back. It's funny to look back.
Right. And then you get sad because you you remember how it ended.
And then you're like,
yeah,
shit.
I mean,
God damn
I
it.
mean, you're at a real I mean, just to wrap this up, I mean, after yesterday, you're at a crossroads. I mean, you're 1-2, and you have a chance to get to 500, and kind of start building something up. But you're at I mean, if you lose to the Lions, I mean, then you're.
Well, yeah. So
I
go
mean,
ahead.
it'll never be Nagy, but someone gets fired if you lose to the Lions, I
Yeah.
imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean, that because like division games matter more.
Yeah.
This is a team you have consistently dominated with the worst of
Mhm.
quarterbacks at the helm, with the worst of, talent across the board. You've dominated them. And that's where I think, the McCaskies don't know a lot about football, but they at least know that you got to beat Detroit. That's the
Right.
one thing they know. That's one thing Virginia knows after watching football for 98 years is that. And the funny thing is, Jake, too, like, we're in a shit situation. The Packers are one stupid 49ers team away from being 1-2, and they are place the Steelers next weekend, who are off and on. They're the best team in the league one week and the worst team in the league another week. They could win that game. Like, there's a chance. There's still a freaking chance the Bears could be in first place after next week. After all this, there's still a freaking chance. Like it's just comical. And I like to provide optimism. I don't want to say shit about the playoffs or anything like that because it's not right. But real quick, too, before we end, there were positives from Sunday. Robert Quinn has 4 sacks through 3 games. Khalil Mack has 3 sacks. And those are really the only positives, is the way the edge rushers played, the way Robert Quinn played. Maybe the injury. Jalen Johnson is still a star with the pass deflections and all that. It's great. But Lions at home next week. They could win. The Packers could lose. The Vikings, even if they win, would still be tied with us. It's a fucking weird league, man. It is such a weird league.
Well, that's what I mean. You're at a crossroads. I mean, because the opportunity is there for you to still be a very relevant team. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens Wednesday. Like Kevin said, I'm sure there's going to be a press conference. I mean, they're going to talk throughout the week, so we'll see what happens. But join us Wednesday. Hey. Join us Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, right here, so we can talk more and preview the Lions game. But this was a therapy session for all of us. We all let it out. The comments were great. You guys were great as always. Kevin, you were fantastic, and
you are fantastic.
We'll do it again. Wednesday we'll be back, and we'll preview the Lions and try to figure out a way that you win this game. Hopefully, Justin Fields is named the starter. Hopefully, Bill Lazor's calling plays. But hey, who knows? We can't tell the future. But until Wednesday at 7 p.m. right here, then take it easy, and we'll talk to you then. So from myself and from Kevin, and as terrible and not easy and hard as it is to say right now, bear down.
Bear down, baby.